Good morning, everyone. I'm Tara Broderick here at RSBN, and of course we have Joe Seals with us again. Now, I'm sure as many of you have already heard, President Trump cancels the summit that was to be held next month with North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. Now, this decision ends months of diplomatic advances between the U.S. and North Korea. Now, President Trump has hinted this past week that the summit may or may not take place. He said it would be good for North Korea if it did. Now, in his letter, he wrote, and I quote, "I felt a wonderful dialogue was building up between you and me, and ultimately it is only that dialogue that matters." Now, I do have the letter here. I want to show everyone, and we can read through it and talk about some of the things. At first, I want to point out he starts the letter by saying, "His Excellency." I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say that, but that's how he starts the letter. I thought that was funny. And he uses, I noticed in this letter, a lot of words like totally irrelevant, based on the tremendous anger. He is very descriptive in this letter. And it starts off, "Dear Mr. Chairman, we greatly appreciate your time, patience, and effort with respect to our recent negotiations and discussions relative to a summit long sought after by both parties, which was scheduled to take place on June 12th in Singapore. We were informed that the meeting was requested by North Korea, but that to us is totally irrelevant. I was very much looking forward to being there with you. Sadly, based on the tremendous anger and open hostility displayed in your most recent statement, I feel it is inappropriate at this time to have this long-planned meeting." Now, I want to stop right there and talk about that sentence where he says, based on tremendous anger and open hostility. He probably said this, now, don't know for sure, but in my opinion, he probably said this based on Wednesday. There's a statement made by North Korean Vice Foreign Minister, and I don't want to butcher her name, Cho Sun-hui. Joe, do you know how to say it? Okay, that's how I'm going to say it. But she warned and she said that North Korea can also make the U.S. taste an appalling tragedy it has neither experienced nor even imagined up to now. And that's some of the hostility I'm sure President Trump is talking about in this letter. She also called Vice President Mike Pence a political dummy for threatening to attack North Korea and said U.S. actions would determine whether there would be a meeting or whether it would end in a, quote, nuclear-to-nuclear showdown. And then, of course, President Trump ends this letter and he said, "You talk about your nuclear capabilities, but ours are so massive and powerful that I pray to God they will never have to be used." So in this letter, after he says a statement about tremendous anger and all this, he goes on to say, "Therefore, please let this letter serve to represent that the Singapore Therefore, please let this letter serve to represent that the Singapore summit for the good of both parties, but to the detriment of the world, will not take place." And this is where he says a sentence about nuclear capabilities, but he prays to God they'll never have to be used. He goes on to say, "I felt a wonderful dialogue was building up between you and me. Ultimately, it's only the dialogue that matters." And then he says, "Someday I look very much forward to meeting you. In the meantime, I want to thank you for the release of the hostages who are now home with their families. That was a beautiful gesture and was very much appreciated. If you change your mind having to do with this most important summit, please do not hesitate to call me or write. The world, and North Korea in particular, has lost a great opportunity for lasting peace, great prosperity, and wealth. This missed opportunity is a truly sad moment in history." Joe, what are your thoughts on this? And I thought it was very interesting, Joe. I don't know if you had time to read any articles on it, but some networks were trying to turn this letter into saying that he was giving North Korea the upper hand in this summit, and that he was giving the power to Kim Jong Un. But to me, at the end of it, when he says, if you change your mind having to do with this most important summit, please do not hesitate to call me or write. That to me is not giving the North Korean leader the upper hand in this whole summit situation. That's to me President Trump saying, we're withdrawing because of your hostility and everything that's happened. But if you ever change your mind and maybe want to be more calm about this situation,
right,
then he says, please don't hesitate to call me or write. I think that is President Trump taking the upper hand
exactly.
on this.
I think it gives President Trump the upper hand. I mean, he holds all the cards, really. I mean, North Korea has really nothing to gain from not, attending this summit, from not having this summit. North Korea has everything to lose and really nothing to gain by not attending. So I think this again shows that President Trump has the upper hand. I don't know why the media would say that, but and again, I don't know why the media does a lot of the things that they do and says a lot of things that they say. So and again, if you're just joining us, we know we're a little bit late to the game to this story. I am Joe Seals, the CEO of Right Side Broadcasting, and I'm joined by my chief on-air anchor, Tara Broderick, in Birmingham, Alabama, who is on the left of your screen. I'm in the center, and to the right we have a shot of the podium live at the White House where we are awaiting President Trump's remarks right after he has backed out of the North Korea summit. He should be coming to the podium very shortly, and when he does, we will bring his remarks to you in full. And again, bear with us on the production. I am multitasking here. I have just realized that the first couple things that I said during this broadcast, you could not hear me because my mic was muted. But I'm getting better, and so bear with us here as we await the president speaking at the White House. It's important that you share our broadcast. YouTube is again, it doesn't appear that they sent out a notification again this morning for this broadcast. So if you would, please share this on Twitter, share this on Facebook, get the word out and let people know that RSBN is live right now, because YouTube is not. So we're actually going to have to take matters into our own hands on that. Tara and I were talking the other night about ways to sort of combat this, and we're working on some options right now. So bear with us, and So Tara, any other reactions or anything on Twitter? I do see here that Senator Marco Rubio, and I'm seeing the tweets come in now as we speak. Seeing a lot of support for President Trump on this. Senator Rubio's press office released a tweet that says, "I 100% support POTUS decision to pull out of the upcoming Singapore summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un." And he released a statement that said, "I 100% support the president's decision. For 2 weeks now, North Korean tyrant Kim Jong Un has been trying to sabotage the summit and set the United States up to take the blame. He made a big show of freeing hostages and supposedly dismantling a nuclear site to make himself appear reasonable and conciliatory. But in the end, it's now apparent his goal was either to gain sanctions relief in exchange for nothing, or to collapse international sanctions by making the United States appear to be the unreasonable party. If other leaders in North Korea want a better future, they should get rid of Kim Jong Un as soon as possible." And that's coming from Senator Marco Rubio. And if you're just joining us, we are awaiting President Donald Trump, who will speak shortly for the first time after backing out of the North Korean nuclear deal. Tara, we are monitoring this from all angles. We are going to be on the air as well later on today as President Trump presents the Medal of Honor. So we have a full day here at RSBN, and we'll be on the air as long as possible. Tara, you got anything new right now?
Yeah, well, I just found this article from, say, Fox 5 in San Diego. I want to show it. And it says at the bottom, it says, even after Trump accepted Kim's invitation to meet in March, most administration officials put the likelihood of the summit actually happening at less than 50%. And administration officials grew increasingly skeptical over the last week. And we saw that play out through Twitter and all kinds of tweets that a lot of people did not think that this summit was going to happen, and I think our president did make the right call by withdrawing from the summit. I think he took the upper hand on this. He handled it very well, and I do think the summit will happen eventually, but I'm interested to see what he has to say today when he goes on in just a few moments. And I'm going to pull up Twitter now. I haven't even pulled up Twitter yet, but I'm going to see if I can find some tweets from people. I have not even checked Twitter yet.
And if you're just joining us again, I'll say it again. We are awaiting the president, who will speak very shortly for the first time after North Korea has, after backing out of the summit with North Korea. And we are standing by here and waiting. If you have any comments or questions for us, you can send them to us on Twitter. At RSB Network is our company Twitter handle, or you can send them to Tara at Tara RSBN, or you can send them to me at Joe Seals. That's JoeSeales. So send your reactions to this and let us know. Do you agree with President Trump's decision not to meet with Kim Jong Un or not? We'd like to know what you think about this issue.
Okay, I just want to show this tweet I just found. I don't even know who this woman is, but this cracks me up. Her name is Elizabeth Smith. She's talking about the withdrawal from the summit. She said, Trump chickened out. He was talked out of it by his advisors, General Kelly, because it was realized that due to his faulty knowledge of and inexperience in negotiations, he would be bested rather than suffering humbling defeat. He was told to withdraw. I saw that, I immediately had to show it because that is the funniest thing I think I've ever read. But that is a lot of people's view on this. They think he's chickening out, and I don't think he's chickening out at all. I think he's making the right call. I mean, you could read that in the bottom line of his letter. He said something along the lines of, due to your anger and hostility, this is why we're withdrawing. Not because he's chickening out, not because he doesn't know how to handle negotiations. Joe, is your mic on?
Yeah, my mic is off. Again, it's off, and I'm so sorry, folks. I'm so sorry. Wow. So what I was saying, and I'll just briefly say it, is that President Trump wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, and so he knows how to negotiate. He just He lives for these moments. He is, there's no way he's backing out of this for any other reason other than because Kim Jong Un is just a little too crazy right now. And presidents previous have tried and failed to, to have, make headway with Kim Jong Un and have. I mean, President Trump had the hostages released. This is a huge accomplishment. This has been a historic presidency from day one. He's accomplished so much since he's been in office, and this would have been a huge event. And so he wants this summit to take place, but there's a certain point where you have to just tell yourself, hey, you got to get your stuff together and then give me a call and we'll have this meeting. So definitely, in my opinion, he has the upper hand. So if you're just joining us, and I apologize for the mic issue. Wow, this is embarrassing. Again, we're just learning here. I'm trying to multitask, and it's very tough for me sometimes. But if you're just joining us, to the right now, you see a shot of the podium inside the White House where President Trump will speak for the first time since he backed out of the Kim Jong Un summit. So he'll speak shortly, and we're currently awaiting that. Tara, what do you got? Anything else?
Yes, well, I think I got a message from Fit to Be Tied on my Twitter, and I think Fit to Be Tied is in, spot on when they say Trump is in full control, and if Kim wants to play, he has to come begging. And I think that's exactly what Trump's doing. I think as soon as he saw that the North Korean leader was giving just a little bit of hostility, just a little bit not full, focused on this summit, trying to cause this drama, whatever. I think that's why Trump decided to pull out the deal. He was like, I think he wants the North Korean leader to pretty much beg for this summit. And as soon as he showed the slightest bit that he wasn't begging for the summit, that he, acts like he doesn't care if it happens, whatever, he'll pull out of the deal. I think that's why Trump pulled out. I think that just furthermore justifies that Trump has the upper hand in this situation.
Absolutely.
And Fit to Be Tied goes on to say, he goes, and in that letter, Trump is practically chanting, mine is bigger than yours, mine is bigger than yours, brilliant move. And I agree, I think it was a brilliant move. I think it just further shows that Trump's got the upper hand in this. He's handling this very well. Exactly,
Tara. And, again, I will say that we're awaiting President Trump's remarks. We'll be on this as long as we can. And then remind everybody that we'll also have live coverage this afternoon at 2:30 Eastern Time, where President Trump will present the Medal of Honor at the White House. And so you can find all of that on our website, rsbnetwork.com. We are monitoring right now at the White House and awaiting President Trump's speech. So let's see here what we have on Twitter. I'm looking here.
I have something I want to show really quick. I just found this on Twitter. And this is a statement from Senator Marco Rubio. He reached the following statement today after President Trump pulled out of the upcoming Singapore summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un. He said, I 100% support the president's decision. For 2 weeks now, North Korean tyrant Kim Jong Un has been trying to sabotage the summit and set the United States up to take the blame. He made a big show of freeing hostages and supposedly dismantling a nuclear site to make himself appear reasonable and conciliatory, but in the end, it is now apparent his goal was neither to gain sanctions relief in exchange for nothing or to collapse international sanctions by the U.S. appear to be the reasonable party. If other leaders in North Korea want a better future, they should get rid of Kim Jong Un as soon as possible. I thought that was very interesting from Marco Rubio. I think that is a great point. I do think, if the other leaders want this summit to happen, they need to get rid of Kim Jong Un, but that's a completely different issue.
It's a very complicated issue. Obviously, North Korea would be much better off without someone like that in office. But it's a delicate situation. It's a delicate situation when we have an ally in South Korea, and they have to deal with the consequences of having Kim Jong Un in office. So we can't really, we try to. There's a delicate balance there. We try, have to sort of strike. And I want to go to Twitter really quick right now. A statement from Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe just released a statement. I think that this statement is very, very true and sort of puts all this into perspective. Senator Inhofe says, "I believe what we're seeing is a continuation of President Trump's tough talk and clear expectations for North Korea. He has never wavered from the commitment that any talks had to be about complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization. If there was any indication Kim Jong Un was not," and hold on, Tara, we're going to have to break in because President Trump is now speaking at the White House, so we're going to go live to that right now, so everybody stand by.
I'd like to begin by saying that based on the recent statement of North Korea, I've decided to terminate the planned summit in Singapore on June 12th. While many things can happen and a great opportunity lies ahead potentially, I believe that this is a tremendous setback for North Korea and indeed a setback for the world. I've spoken to General Mattis and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and our military, which is by far the most powerful anywhere in the world, that has been greatly enhanced recently, as you all know, is ready if necessary. Likewise, I have spoken to South Korea and Japan, and they are not only ready should foolish or reckless acts be taken by North Korea, but they are willing to shoulder much of the cost of any financial burden, any of the costs associated by the United States in operations if such an unfortunate situation is forced upon us. Hopefully, positive things will be taking place with respect to the future of North Korea. But if they don't, we are more ready than we have ever been before. North Korea has the opportunity to end decades of poverty and oppression by following the path of denuclearization and joining the community of nations. And I hope that Kim Jong Un will ultimately do what is right, not only for himself, but perhaps most importantly, what's right for his people, who are suffering greatly and needlessly. All of the Korean people, North and South, deserve to be able to live together in harmony, prosperity, and peace. That bright and beautiful future can only happen when the threat of nuclear weapons is removed. No way it can happen otherwise. If and when Kim Jong Un chooses to engage in constructive dialogue and actions, I am waiting. In the meantime, our very strong sanctions, by far the strongest sanctions ever imposed, and maximum pressure campaign will continue, as it has been continuing. But no matter what happens and what we do, we will never, ever compromise the safety and security of the United States of America. I want to make that statement, feel very, very strongly about it. Our military, as you know, has been greatly enhanced. Will soon be at a level that it's never been before. Our approval of $700 billion this year and $716 billion next year, largely due to the help of a lot of the people with me today and standing right here, we appreciate. But we had to do that for our military, and we've done it, and hopefully everything's going to work out well with North Korea. And a lot of things can happen, including the fact that perhaps, and would wait, it's possible that the existing summit could take place or a summit at some later date. Nobody should be anxious. We have to get it right. Okay, with that being said, we have something else, which I have to tell you, all of you, Chairman, Mike, and everybody, it was a big deal until this came up. I don't know, where's Mike Crapo? Where are you? Mike, congratulations, you did a great job, but it doesn't seem so important now. I don't know. But it is important. It's incredible. And it's incredible that you've done it, and you've done it in a very bipartisan way, which is very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much, but a very bipartisan way, Mike, and I want to congratulate you and everyone else. I'm going to read a few names because these people worked hard. This is all about the Dodd-Frank disaster, and they fixed it, or at least have gone a long way toward fixing it. Mike Crapo, thank you very much. Steve Daines, thank you, Steve. Incredible job. John Kennedy, thank you very much, John. Heidi Heitkamp, Heidi, thank you very much, appreciate it. David Perdue, where's David? Where is David? Oh, I love David. What a great guy he is. Jim Risch, Jim, thank you, what a great lawyer. I learned all about you. One of the great lawyers. I think I have to use him. Tim Scott. Tim, thank you, Tim. Great job. It's a great achievement. And Pat Toomey, who really does know the financial world, I can tell you from experience. Right, Pat? Great job. Also, representatives. Jeb Henserling. Fantastic, fantastic job. Thank you, Jeb. See, you wanted to get near the table instead of getting over here. That's like the prime location until about 10 minutes ago, right? I think Mia now has the prime location.
All about real estate.
I know it is. It's all about location, isn't it? It's true. Jim Banks, Andy Barr, Kevin Kramer, Sean Duffy, Tom Emmer, French Hill, Bill Heisinger, David Kustoff, Patrick McHenry. I always say Patrick McHenry. Where's Patrick? It's the greatest name in politics. I don't know why. Every time I say Patrick McHenry, who's, by the way, does a great job, aside from everything, more important than the name, I think you have the greatest name in politics. If I had that name, I would have been president 10 years sooner. Telling you. It's a great name. Thanks, Patrick. Mia Love. Thank you, Mia. Blaine Lutkenmeyer. Keith Rothkus. Where's Keith? Thank you, Keith, very much. Claudia Tenney and Ann Wagner. These are people that have worked so hard. We've been talking about this so long, and so I want to thank all of them. I also want to thank Vice President Pence, who's been working with me on our previous discussion, long and hard, Secretary Steve Mnuchin, Secretary Ross, Secretary Carson, and Administrator Linda McMahon, who is doing a fantastic job at the small business groups. He is going all over the country talking to groups of people. And Linda, I just heard the other day you are doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Really great. Thank you also to the many great members of Congress and for the people that work so long and so hard. Today I'm proud to keep yet another promise. We've made a lot of promises. In fact, I think we've probably, in terms of campaign promises, we promised, but we actually approved more than I promised, if you really look at it. A commentator actually said that. This was a commentator, obviously, that liked me. But he said, we said we were going to do this, and we've done more. And we have, if you look at regulation, if you look at all of the things we've done. But we've kept yet another promise as I signed the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act into law. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for our country. This is truly a great day for America and a great day for American workers and small businesses all throughout the nation. The legislation I'm signing today rolls back the crippling Dodd-Frank regulations that are crushing community banks and credit unions nationwide. They were in such trouble. One size fits all. Those rules just don't work. And community banks and credit unions should be regulated the same way, and you have to really look at this. They should be regulated the same way with proviso for safety as in the past when they were vibrant and strong, but they shouldn't be regulated the same way as the large, complex financial institutions. And that's what happened, and they were being put out of business one by one. And they weren't lending. Since its passage in 2010, Dodd-Frank has dealt a huge blow to community banking. As a candidate, I pledged that we would rescue these community banks from Dodd-Frank, the disaster of Dodd-Frank. And now we are keeping that commitment, and all of the people with me are keeping that commitment. Incredible group of people. Dodd-Frank's complex and costly regulations gave large banks an unfair competitive advantage at the expense of neighborhood banks all over the country. Since Dodd-Frank's passage just 8 years ago, 20% of small banks have been put out of business. They've disappeared. While banks that were considered too big to fail, we've heard that many times, too big to fail, had the resources to comply with Dodd-Frank's brutal maze of costly regulations. And maybe we're going to have to start looking at that also for the larger institutions, because they also are put at a disadvantage in terms of loaning money to people wanting to open up businesses. So perhaps we'll be taking a look at that. Many small banks were forced to shut down. Regulations also made it nearly impossible for new banks to replace the ones that went out of business, made it totally impossible to open up new. Almost nobody opened up new. In the past, scores of new banks formed every single year. In recent years, that number has plummeted again to almost zero. These community banks are vital for local lending and have a direct stake in the success of their neighborhoods and their states. Local businesses have few other resources and few other ways of getting credit. And for many Americans, these small banks are the only financial institutions in their entire community. They made their communities work, and they've been essentially shut down. When these community banks close their doors, it denies small businesses and everyday Americans access to capital that they desperately need. By liberating small banks from excessive bureaucracy, and that's what it was, bureaucracy, we are unleashing the economic potential of our people. This legislation also strengthens protections against identity theft, big problem nowadays, bigger than anyone understands. Expands crucial financial access to low-income and minority communities, and ensures that educational and job training opportunities are available to more families in need. Those are great opportunities. Some of the people up here are working very, very hard on creating those opportunities for people. These reforms are critical to helping all Americans thrive and to prosper. Today's legislation is the next step in America's unprecedented economic comeback. There's never been a comeback like we've made. And one day, the fake news is going to report it. But that's okay. You've been very nice, actually, today. You've been extremely nice. Republicans in Congress passed the biggest tax cut and reform in the history of our country. We passed and signed a record number of bills terminating job-killing regulations. In the history of our country, no president, whether it's 4 years, 8 years, or 16 years in one case, has ever passed more regulation cuts. And these were necessary cuts because we're leaving necessary regulations. Regulation is fine, but it's got to be reasonable. And that's what we've done. Unemployment has reached its lowest level in nearly 2 decades. African American unemployment has reached its lowest level in history. And the same thing for Hispanic unemployment, lowest level in history. Women, lowest level of unemployment in 19 years. Small business optimism has never, ever been higher, according to polls and charts. And we're restoring our forgotten communities by fighting to reclaim the stolen manufacturing jobs. You see that happening right now. You see what's going on with cars, where Secretary Ross and I, and as you know, Secretary Mnuchin and Lighthizer and the whole group, we're all working together. Peter, we have a big group working together. But you see, there was an article today, but it's going to be more than an article. Cars pouring into our country and hurting our jobs, and they're closing. But they're moving back. As you know, Chrysler's moving back to Michigan, big plant. Many car companies are coming into our country now. Big difference. But you take a look at what we're doing on trade. China, going to be much different. A lot of reporting doesn't have it right because we're not talking about the deal we're trying to make. We don't want to do that. But we're working very well and very hard with China, as you know, and I don't blame China for this. China has been taking advantage of the United States economically and in other ways for many, many decades, And it was like missing in action, our representatives. They were missing in action. They wouldn't do anything. We had a trade deficit last year with China of at least $375 billion, and I believe the number was probably over $500 billion. And we had massive theft of intellectual property to the tune of perhaps, hard to value, $300 billion a year. And that's all ending. That's all ending. And our relationship with China is a very good one. And I told President Xi, I don't blame China. I blame the United States for allowing this to happen. Because people in my position and people in these positions should have never, ever allowed that to happen. But we're changing it. This is an incredible time for America. Amazing progress is happening for our country every single day. And I again want to thank the members of Congress who helped pass so many vital legislative acts. We have another one that passed yesterday called Right to Try. Nobody knows what that means. That's a patient who's terminally ill, ends up leaving the country to find help. They wanted hope. And we have drugs that are in the pipeline for anywhere from 10 to 15 years. And they may be very good, but you're not allowed to use them. These people are terminal. They're terminally ill. They're going to die. And we had no access. They had no access at all to getting into that pipeline, to getting something that may or may not work. We have some incredible, at the FDA, we have some incredible drugs under research. So Right to Try, which amazingly was something that everyone said could not be passed. Right to Try passed. We'll be signing it probably sometime next week. And this gives people hope. We can go, they'll sign a waiver, and they'll be able to use what they need. And in many cases, they'll be helped. But they won't have to fly to Africa. They won't have to fly to South America. They won't have to fly to Europe or wherever, just seeking help. Rich people, poor people, they're seeking help. They had no access. Now they have the right to try, the right of hope. And I know many of the folks standing with me agreed with me and approved it. It's such a wonderful bill, and it's so incredible that it was not possible to get it passed, but we got it passed. And we had some tremendous help from some tremendously talented senators and Congress people. So I want to thank all the people up here today. What we're doing today with respect to Dodd-Frank is truly important legislation. And I have to say, for a Congress that they say, you know, won't be doing much because we have an election coming up, I think we're doing an awful lot when you think about it. I think we're doing an awful lot. I think we're doing more than any Congress in a long time. So, thank you. So I'll be signing now a very, very important bill from the standpoint of people and jobs and loans and getting out there and building a business. And it's a tremendous honor to be with all of you folks today. And thank you for the great job. Thank you for this incredible amount of work. I know how hard this one was. The Dodd-Frank was something that they said could not be touched. And honestly, a lot of great Democrats knew that it had to be done, and they joined us in the effort. And there is something so nice about bipartisan, and we're going to have to try more of it, okay? Let's do more of it, all right? Thank you all very much. Thank you.
How are you?
He won't, right? He's a bunch of business.
All right, if you're just tuning in, this is RSBN's live coverage of President Trump now speaking just right after backing out of the North Korean summit with Kim Jong Un. He's now signing something there at the desk, and we are monitoring the situation. This is live video on the right. I'm joined by Tara Broderick, our RSBN chief news anchor on the left. I'm live here at the RSBN headquarters in Auburn, Alabama, and he's answering questions now, so let's go back to Trump.
We'll continue onward, we'll see. But we are in a very strong position. I think they want to do what's right. I really think that they want to do, and it was only recently that this has been taking place, and I think I understand why it's been taking place. But they want to do what's right. I really believe Kim Jong Un wants to do what's right. So hopefully things will work out. Okay? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You said you had a wonderful dialogue with Kim Jong Un.
We have a wonderful dialogue. We have a wonderful, there's been a very good working relationship. It started with the hostages coming back home. The hostages came home. We didn't have to pay. We wouldn't have paid. But they came back home. They're now safely ensconced in their houses. And they're very happy and thrilled, and they never thought it was going to happen. So the dialogue was good until recently, and I think I understand why that happened.
Why was that?
And I won't say that. Someday I'll give it to you. You can write about it in a book. But I really believe we have a great opportunity. We'll see whether or not that opportunity is seized by North Korea. If it is, great for them and great for the world. If it isn't, it'll be just fine. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Call you, Mr. President? Do you expect him to call you?
All right, that was President Donald Trump speaking live from the White House after backing out of the deal with North Korea. I'm Joe Seal, CEO of Right Side Broadcasting, and I'm joined by Tara Broderick in Birmingham, Alabama. On my right, my left, I guess, yeah. So I'm looking at the split screen there. Thanks everybody for joining us. I want to point out RSBN shows, not only were we famous for showing the crowd back in the 2016 election, but we also showed the entire remarks from President Trump there. And even Fox News, but I love Fox News, but even Fox News cut away from some of Trump's speeches. They had people talking over him. So we give you that here. We give you access to President Trump like no one else does, and we're very proud of that. We're also proud of the fact that we're able to cover events like this for you and to actually physically attend these events in person, like we've done since the beginning of Trump's campaign, going to the rallies, being the first ones to show all of his speech in their entirety and not taking anything out of context, and also showing you the full crowds at the rallies. We're the only ones to do that. We're going to continue to do that. In fact, we have a rally coming up on Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. We can't stay on the air without your support. We're 100% viewer supported. We are working on a lot of cool new things here, as you can tell by some of these new graphics we have, some of the new split screens that we have, and we're working hard to improve our broadcast and to be able to bring you better coverage. So we really appreciate your support. If you want to donate to our network, there's several ways to do it, and I think Tara already has a donation she wants to read and also tell you how you can donate to us. Tara?
Yes, so we got a donation while President Trump was speaking from James Wynn German, and he said that RSBN must survive. They've truly made history. Ask yourself, would President Trump be in office without millions watching the rallies on RSBN? Keep showing us the crowds. Thank you so much for that donation and for the kind words, because that is exactly what we do here at RSBN. We show the crowds, we show the full remarks, and we want to stay on the air and keep bringing those to you. So if you're in the chat room on YouTube, you can go down to the bottom and click the $sign, or you can go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, or you can become a monthly donator on patreon.com/RSBN.
Right, and he makes a good point. We don't claim to be the reason why Trump is in office. Trump is in office because Trump is Trump, and there are a lot of reasons and a lot of people behind that movement. But we were credited by a few members of the administration as playing a significant role. I mean, we basically allowed President Trump to take his message directly to the people. We simulcasted our feed to his Facebook page, and we received 400 million views between our YouTube channel and his Facebook page. So we were able to help him to bypass mainstream media and go directly to the people. We're proud of that. We're proud of the fact that we were able to play a significant role, and now we're going to continue our mission to bring you truth, bring you the facts, and we're going to follow the president wherever he goes. And that Nashville rally is this Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium. We're going to have a full crew there for the first time in a very long time. I don't think we've ever had 5 crew members at an event, but we have Tara here that's going. We also have Tom O'Neill, our new campaign reporter, and we have as well our new reporter, Alyssa Ash, who will actually be here in a few minutes. Actually, maybe we'll get to see her when she comes in. And then we also have Liz Willis. All of you know and love Liz, and then Aaron Pangio, our wonderful, talented cameraman. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. So I want to go back really quick, and I want to get your reactions as well on Twitter. But really quick, we read a statement from Jim Inhofe and Marco Rubio a little bit earlier on supporting the president's decision to pull out of the North Korean summit. But to contrast that now, let's look at the statement from Tammy Duckworth, who is a Democratic senator from Illinois, who says, "It's alarming to see Donald Trump so quickly discard diplomacy and revert back to his prior reckless bluster. His administration's erratic behavior, rhetorical missteps, and strategic naivety in recent weeks once again lay bare that the president's self-proclaimed negotiation skills are just a mirage. The Trump administration's negotiations with North Korea gifted the Kim regime greater leverage on the world while diminishing our own. These are not the results of a skilled negotiator. They leave us no closer to peaceful denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula and keep us on the brink of renewed conflict in North Korea, which would be catastrophic and put the lives of countless civilians and American service members at risk. I implore those who remain serving in our career, foreign service, and national security ranks to do everything in their power to convince the president to re-engage in diplomacy while maintaining our firm alliances with South Korea and Japan." Wow. So,
Okay, whoa, Joe. I have so much to say about that. One, was this sent out before his meeting just now, or was it sent out just after?
well, this was sent out just after Trump's remarks that just happened. Yeah.
Okay, well, that blows my mind even more. Did they even listen to the same remarks we did? Because I have several of them written down right here. One, President Trump says, he puts all the pressure on Kim Jong Un. He says, "I hope he does what is right for not only himself, but what is right for his people who are suffering greatly." He puts all that pressure on him. That is not Trump being a bad negotiator. He said, "I am waiting." He is waiting on Kim Jong Un to get his mess together so that this summit can happen. President Trump wants this summit to happen. He is not being a bad negotiator. He is not letting the people down. He said it could take place at a later date, and he even says no one should be anxious because we have to get it right. And it literally just blows my mind, because he even said, "In the meantime, our strong sanctions and maximum pressure will continue. No matter what happens and what we do, we will never compromise the safety and security of North America." How in the world can she say that he's putting our troops at risk when he literally said No matter what happens and what we do, we will never compromise the safety and security of North America. I'm fired up about that one, Joe.
You got look. Anybody that looks at this from a distance can tell that President Trump has done more in his time in office to address this situation and to bring denuclearization and peace to Korea than any president in history. I mean, he got North Korea to release hostages. He actually had a summit scheduled. Previous presidents haven't gotten even close to that before. And that's what is so, I mean, this is just politics. This is why I hate politics. It's because it doesn't matter whether President Trump gets the unemployment rate to zero, or whether the economy is at its best it's been in years, or African American unemployment is at its lowest that it's ever been, or Hispanic unemployment is as low as it's ever been. No matter what the guy does, it doesn't matter, because if you have a D in parentheses after your name, you're going to criticize him and disagree. They're looking out for party, they're not looking out for country. And that's the problem with politics, is that if someone does something good for America, the R or the D next to their name is irrelevant. And the president has done everything in his power, in my opinion, but how can you negotiate with a man like Kim Jong Un? It's tough. It's really tough to negotiate with someone who doesn't have, I'm sorry, the guy's lost his, I mean, you know, he doesn't have a lot of marbles rolling up, you know, in his head. I mean, it's tough to negotiate with somebody like that. And when they're criticizing our vice president and, you know, making all these threats and stuff right before the summit, I mean, you know, at a certain point you have to say, okay, enough of you. We'll get back to you when you come around. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, I don't know, Joe. This makes me so mad. I mean, I feel like you're right. With the D at the end of your name or the R makes all the difference of which side people are going to take. But once again, we are Americans. We need to focus on even just the victory of getting those 3 hostages released. That was huge. If that is all that comes out of this and there's never a summit, I think that's a victory that still needs to be celebrated. Instead, people are taking away from just that victory. They're taking away from the lowest employment rate in history. They're taking away from all these other victories President Trump has achieved, and they're applying it and saying that he is a bad negotiator. They're not even focusing on any of these victories that have come from this. So I do think a summit will happen eventually, but I don't think President Trump's going to back down. I don't think he's going to give in the least bit. I think he's going to, just like Fit to be Tied told me on Twitter, he's going to wait till Kim Jong Un comes begging, because that's who our president is, and then the summit will happen. And still, I think at that table, President Trump's not going to give in. He's going to hold firm and keep his promises. And I don't know. I don't know, Joe. I don't know.
You probably hear a dog barking in the background if you're listening live. That is my dogs downstairs barking, so I apologize for that. Again, media outsiders here, learning as we go. But I want to read a statement now from Democratic Congressman. This goes back to my earlier point, which is that they're not going to give this guy credit no matter what he does for the country. And it's sad. It's sad to see this. But if you go back and you look at, I believe it's Ted Lieu. I'm not 100% on that. He represents California's 33rd district out of the Los Angeles area. And he released a statement that says the president's chaotic approach to North Korea has gone from name-calling and threats of nuclear war to promises of denuclearization and talk of a Nobel Peace Prize, and now to a canceled summit and more threats of nuclear war. Diplomacy is difficult and serious work. It requires patience and strategic thinking. North Korea is not like one of his real estate deals. Trump is playing with fire with a dictator that has nuclear weapons on a peninsula in which over 200,000 Americans live. America is great when we lead the world stage. The erratic approach to our foreign policy strains our alliances, emboldens our enemies, and threatens global stability. America deserves better. And so again, my point being that he says Trump is playing with fire with a dictator that has nuclear weapons on a peninsula in which over 200,000 Americans live. He says it requires strategic planning and thinking, and that diplomacy is difficult and serious work. What does he think the president has been doing for the last several months? Again, he got the hostages released. I haven't seen as much progress made with North Korea as I've seen since President Trump has been in office. And that is the thing to me that is just so, I mean, what do they want this guy, what do they want the president to do? Do they want the president to bow down to Kim, just like, previous presidents, have bowed to leaders? We'll go nameless there, but I mean, it's hard to negotiate with a guy like this. As I said before, the guy's crazy. I mean, I'm sorry he's crazy. It's just true. I mean, the things that he does, the horrid conditions that North Koreans go through, it's really just it's sad. And when you're dealing with a madman like that, it's really hard to, where do you draw the line? I think he drew the line today. So I agree with the decision.
Yeah, I think he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing. I think he's made all the right choices. I don't care what people say about him being a bad negotiator. I think he's making the right choice, because how do you even negotiate, like you said, with someone like Kim Jong Un? I mean, you can't. And I think President Trump is waiting to the right time to make this summit happen, if it even does happen. And then, of course, I feel like we could talk about this whole summit thing all day long, but at the end, he stopped talking about the summit and he turned it into his new, I'm going to show this tweet. He signed the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act into law. This rolls back the Dodd-Frank, delivering much-needed relief for hard-working Americans and small businesses. And they said, thanks for working hard on this issue. And I think that's just another thing to add to the list. I mean, President Trump could have talked this whole time about Kim Jong Un and could have talked about everything that's going to happen and why he pulled out. But he stopped, he said his piece, he stopped, and then he furthermore talked about what else he is doing for our country.
Absolutely, Tara. Again, as I said before, it just goes to show you, the political climate in our country right now, where it's not, we're Democrats or Republicans and not Americans, and this is what is sad to me. Is the guy has done so much in his first year, and they're still talking about impeachment and Russia and things like that. And look, as I said before, President Trump wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. He knows how to make these things happen. But there's some things where you have to just draw the line and say, look, I'm not doing this. And I think he drew that line today. And like I said, we appreciate everybody's support. I'm working on something here, Tara. So I'm going to let you take over for a second. I'm a little preoccupied here. Just take over for 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, so if you have any comments or questions or anything, I do have my Twitter open, so send those to me at TeraRSBN. That's TeraRSBN. I'm going to check some real quick to see if I have anything. Nothing yet, so I'm going to go to the YouTube chat. Let's see. One of our moderators in the YouTube chat said, from Guinevere, she said, my translation, President of the United States says, no quarter, come back when you grow up, Kim. And I do want to go off that. I think that's what President Trump is waiting for. He's waiting for Kim Jong Un to grow up. I mean, I don't want to call the man insane, but like Joe said, he has some loose marbles up there. They're not all there. And I think President Trump knows that. And I think instead, some people, mainly Democrats, were saying that by President Trump pulling out of this summit, that made him a bad negotiator and he's putting at risk our troops and whatever else they said. I think this just further verifies that he's protecting our country. I would not want a president to go to that summit unsure of how Kim Jong Un was going to handle the situation, with him making all these threats and with all this hostility. I think he made the right call by pausing, putting it on hold. He didn't say he canceled the one for June 12th, but he even said, that it may happen at a later date, or that one even may happen if Kim Jong Un, comes to his senses and calms down, the hostility chills, and then I think President Trump will feel comfortable taking our country to that summit to further negotiate this whole situation.
And again, I'll just make one final point, which is that people were saying that President Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize for this, for bringing North Korea to the table. So they were all shouting his praises not long ago when he was able to get the hostages released, and he was actually able to get Kim to a point where he would agree to sit down and meet and tone down some of his rhetoric. And Kim met with South Korea, and things looked like they were going very well for a while. And people were saying Trump, maybe get a Nobel Peace Prize out of this. And you don't think President Trump would want to receive the Nobel Peace Prize? I think he would love to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. He tweeted about it quite often. And so, again, backing out of this deal, I'm sure it was a decision they didn't take lightly, and they analyzed everything and decided, look, the guy's got to get his stuff straight. I mean, I'm just saying that's what I would do anyway. So I wanted to remind everybody as well that we have a coverage today of President Trump awarding the Medal of Honor to a former Navy SEAL. We'll have that for you at 2:30 Eastern time, I believe, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. We probably won't do a post show for that, but we will bring you that coverage in full this afternoon at 2:30 Eastern. We will also be back on the air all day. We'll be on the air if breaking news happens this weekend and tomorrow, but we'll be on the air all day Tuesday. I want to invite everybody to join us for our all-day rally coverage live from Nashville. We have a new way we're going to do things on Tuesday. We're going to actually be using a real camera on the outside when we do our pre-show for the event. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fun. We have 5 crew members going, so it's going to be a blast. You guys are going to have a lot of fun. We won't. Hopefully, I'm just going to say right now, we're not going to have any interruptions like we did last time. It's going to be a great. It's going to be a great experience, and we're going to have a lot of fun out in Nashville. So if you're going to be in Nashville, come see us. We'll be roving around on the outside of the Municipal Auditorium, and we'll be interviewing people. So come up and find us, see us, say hello. We love meeting our viewers. We love hearing your feedback. So come see us. President Trump's speech will obviously be aired live right here on RSBN at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday night. And then after that, we'll have our post show as well, as always. Tara will be there, Tom O'Neill will be there, Liz Willis will be there, Alyssa Ash will be there. We just brought Alyssa in. If you haven't followed her on Twitter yet, you can do so. Alyssa RSBN is her Twitter handle. You can find her on our Twitter page as well. And then Aaron Pingia, our cameraman. So we're excited to go. If you'd like to support us and to help us continue to bring you this kind of coverage, please consider donating to us. You can do so if you're on YouTube by clicking the $ under the chat box. YouTube does take 30% of that, full disclosure, but we're happy to get them anyway. Or you can go to rsbnetwork.com/donate or patreon.com/rsbn, where we will give you free cool stuff in exchange for your monthly donations. Tara, I'm going to let you close us out here because I got kids downstairs screaming and yelling, and I don't want everybody to hear that on the broadcast. So you want to close us out?
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you to Kirk Watson for donating. I saw that in the chat just now. Thank you so much. And from all of us here at RSBN, thank you for joining us for this chat and for the President Trump meeting about canceling the summit with North Korea. And hopefully we will see you all soon. But thank you so much from Joe Sills and myself.